fam. Y'all gotta let this Hebrew Israelite shit go. We are not Hebrew Israelites. There is no kingdom of Judah at all in West Africa. You saying actually we Hebrew Israelites know your heritage in West Africa links up to ancient Israel? Ain't no way, ain't no goddamn way. When, where, and how did that ever happen? The Igbo do not subscribe to the Israelite culture. The Akan, all of this shit is opposite of what you talking about. Christianity, Hebrew, all of that shit washed up with the motherfucking Europeans. That's where all of this shit come from. Y'all just don't want to admit the shit. Wasn't no Africans in West Africa talking about Yahweh prior to the motherfucking white man showing up. Know your own history, fam. Y'all gotta let this Hebrew Israelite shit go. We are not Hebrew Israelites. There is no kingdom of Judah at all in West Africa. You saying actually we Hebrew Israelites know your heritage in West Africa links up to ancient Israel? Ain't no goddamn way. When, where, and how did that ever happen? The Igbo do not subscribe to the Israelite culture. The Akan, all of this shit is opposite of what you talking about. Christianity, Hebrew, all of that shit washed up with the motherfucking Europeans. That's where all of this shit come from. Y'all just don't want to admit the shit. Wasn't no Africans in West Africa talking about Yahweh prior to the motherfucking white man showing up. Know your own history.
Shalom. Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahweh Shai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahweh Shai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahweh Shai, Call Halayimla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh Bashem shall have mercy upon. I'm your brother Montezabath, residing from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And I wanted to do a quick land back off the beloved elder Montezabath's video going into this, I guess, lost Jake, or hey, he could actually be a terror. We don't know. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. The point is to use this opportunity to bring out secular history, all right, pertaining to biblical prophecy. And we're going to show you why everything that he stated is incorrect. And what you're going to find out is the Bible itself is not just a book of law, statutes, and commandments, but it's also a book of history, which a lot of your scholars and Salakia, a lot of your scholars and archaeologists, majority of the times they will seek the scriptures when they try to find information, digging up history, all right. And what's the term? There's another term that they use for escapes my mind, but nevertheless, we're going to show you all of that. Now, one thing that he said that stood out to me, that gave me the spirit to hop on and do a land back, is that everything that we claim to be has come from the so-called white man, not understanding that everything that the scholars back then, which I'm going to show you through secular history, it actually aligns with biblical prophecy. And that's the thing that he doesn't understand. And see, whether it be whether you are a Christian, a so-called Christian, whether you are a what do they call it, an Afrocentric so-called black, believe it in the Egyptology and all of that bullshit, what you're going to find out is that these people, they don't really understand prophecy, nor do they deal with prophecy. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Now, this is a website that's called historyrevised.com. All right. And as you can see, this was published December 4th, 2015. And the head title reads The Kingdom of Judah in West Africa, because he mentioned that there's no Kingdom of Judah in West Africa. Right. So let's just quickly go through this. And this was written by Pete Henry. Now it says the discovery of the 1747 map of the Kingdom of Judah in West Africa in 2012 has caused quite a sensation. And with the exception of the Limba, general history provides no indication that black Hebrews might be found in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, that's what they say, but we can prove that, all right, with actual other resources that we can go into. In Lord's will, I'll be able to tap in and read an excerpt from the book of From Babylon to Timbuktu, written by author Rudolph R. Windsor, if the Spirit permits me to, so that we can get a little bit of more information to turn that statement around. But nevertheless, it says, but in 1747, British and French mapmakers charted a kingdom of Judah in West Africa. And some scholars say the name bears no significance to the biblical Judah. And the reason why they would say that is because they don't want you to know the truth of the matter. And here it is. We've been saying time and time again, these Edomites, okay, your top white scholars of this, that, and the third, they know who you are. All right. And it was their job that they spent millions of dollars to cover up and hide that information. OK, but see, it's the spirit, the Rakakwadash, all right, that has descended upon, all right, on the earth and have set up men, all right, to restore your remembrance of who we truly are as a people. Because pertaining to Jeremiah, the 17th chapter and the 4th verse, we would discontinue from our heritage. OK, but now pertaining to also Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, the valley of the dry bones, we are awakening and that breath is coming back into us. So nevertheless, it says, some scholars say the name bears no significance to the biblical Judah, but there is considerable evidence to the contrary. All right. And that's what we're going to focus on here in this lesson. We're going to get into the evidence, the proof. OK, because for some of you, Jake, seeing is believing, man. All right. You have no faith at all when you hear something. But nevertheless, it says the presence of the Hebrews in Africa is generally traced back to the siege of Jerusalem in 66 to 70 AD. All right. And we're going to get the precept to back that up. But it says RL, which is Rudolph L. Windsor, says it is estimated that during the period of the Roman rule from Pompey to Julius, 1 million Hebrews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery. Windsor, 1969, page 84. It says Ella Hewley agrees that the 66 to 70 AD Roman Jewish War marked the peak of persecution and the end of the original Hebrew Israelites as a nation. Original, all right, because our identity currently has been stolen by people who are not the true people. And we know who that is. That's the biblical Edomites today. Hewley says Israelites who managed to escape their persecutors during the war subsequently migrated to West Africa. OK, take note of this. Salakia. So it goes on to say in West Africa, Judah is bordered by the Gold Coast, Ghana to the west, and Benin to the east, and is situated within modern Togo. It has a complex history, the result of colonization by England, France, Portugal, and the Dutch, and domestic conquest by the Kingdom of Dahomey in 1725. It says Judah has been designated as a town or a kingdom with multiple names in many sources. Robin Law, a professor of the West African Studies, wrote, although Ouida is the spelling of the town's current name, it occurs in European sources between the 17th and the 19th centuries in various other forms. In English, Ouida; in Dutch, Fida; in French, Judah; and in Portuguese, Ayuda. All right, see Law 2004, page 18. It says by 1771, the colonial cartographers had renamed Judah the Slave Coast, and when it became the primary slave port in West Africa, stretching several hundred miles from the Bight of Benin to Gabon in West Central Africa. And even with this name change, the view that the name Judah does not enter into the historical records until 1671 to 1673 is opposed by Elise Reculus, who in 1888 states, the Europeans have designated by various names of Fida, Huida, Wida, Ouida, the region ancient authors called Judah. The inhabitants were called the Judaic, and indeed they were regarded as the remnant of the lost tribes of Israel. Those ancient writers, reckless is referring to, are the Hebrew authors of the Bible. Now, those cartographers, Salakia, this is the actual mapping in 1747. And notice here, he said that there was no kingdom of Judah, but yet they wrote a map. Okay, they outlined in the map that those, in other words, they knew that those were Hebrews. Okay, Judeans. Okay, all right, you got to get with the program. So it says, furthermore, evidence that Judah was inhabited by the descendants of Jacob, who were subsequently deported during the transatlantic slave trade, which is also in the scriptures. Lord's will, we'll get that, can be found in the written testimony of Olahuda Equiano, and he was captured at age 10 from the former Biafra, just above the deserts of Seth. Alohuda, if I pronounced that correctly, wrote of the Hebrew customs practiced by his tribe. They have many offerings, particularly at full moons, generally 2 at harvest before the fruits are taken out of the ground. And when any young animals are killed, sometimes they offer up part of them as a sacrifice. These offerings, when made by one of the heads of a family, serve for the whole. Some of our offerings are eating with bitter herbs. Aluudas, Hebrewism, is also evident in his name. We know he is from the tribe of Judah because the suffix Yuda for Yuda is present in Ola Yuda. Now, here in the map on the Slave Coast, set 1771, these cartographers, they labeled it as, you can see, Negro land. But this idiot here is saying that you Negroes, you so-called Negroes, that is, all right, you're not no damn Hebrews, all right? But we're going to show you that you so-called Negroes, all right, you are the Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of, as well as you so-called Native Americans and Latinos, all right? Now, it says, it is now common knowledge. What does that mean? Common knowledge, meaning they know based off the records that they have. It is now common knowledge that the merchants and slavers knew the exact origins of the people they took captive. So who were the merchants and the slavers? All right. Your modern day today, your 1948ers, all right, that are claiming to be Ish of our people. The Ish part, though, that is. OK. And they're the ones that when you go into secular history and you look up the records, they're the ones that owned the slave ships. So they know who you are as a people, but they have stolen your identity. OK. And the scripture said that that was going to happen. But nevertheless, it says it is now common knowledge that the merchants and the slavers knew the exact origins of the people they took captive from West Africa because they recorded some of their names. And here's just a few what they wrote down. So you have Yahweh, girl, Yakoba, boy, Hawa, man, or Hawa. It says Yahweh, woman, Hayawa, woman, Yahweh, woman, and Yahweh, man, right? According to Portuguese slave records, their names were not constructed from terms such as Lord, Jehovah, Elohim, or Adonai, but were variations of the name Yahweh, which we know the true name to be Yahweh, proving that they knew the real names of the Most High of Abraham. All right. Now it says here, Slave Coast, Bight of Benin to Bight of Biafra. The land of Judah, or Wida, was described in 1793 as being beyond description for beauty and description. It was so populous that one village contained as many inhabitants as the whole kingdom on the Gold Coast. Keep in mind the Gold Coast. It says the history of the people who lived on the slave coast, Judah, has been subject to historical distortions, but identifying the geographic location from which the dispersed Hebrews will return is not difficult when the Bible confirms it. Once again, the scriptures is not just a book on law, statutes, commandments, but it's also a book of history. Okay. It says, prophesying the return of the scattered Hebrews, the Most High says, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my petitioners, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, Africa was at one time known to the ancient world as Ethiopia. All right. Now, if you look up an old map, you will have what was called Lower Ethiopia and Upper Ethiopia. All right. So it says, and the Atlantic Ocean was called the Ethiopic Ocean. Subsequently, it has become evident after so long that one covert objective for slavery was to remove the Hebrews from their lands and so cut them off from being a nation, the prophet Joel said. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, all right, Europeans, which today will be your biblical Edomites, which is the so-called white man, all right, and who was in the process that have sold the children of Israel to the Grecians. It was none other than the Hamites, okay, your real Africans today, okay, the Hamitic tribes. And now what Esau would tell you in the records and in history is that Africans sold Africans. That's not what happened. Okay, Hamites sold Shemites, which were Israelites. That's what happened. So you had Africans that sold Israelites. Okay, that's what they're covering up. That's what they're not telling you. So it goes on to say, it is in Judah that the colonizers built the door of no return, the physical gate through which the tribes of Levi, all right, which is your modern day Haitians today, and Judah, which is the so-called Negro today, passed into slavery and into the land of their enemies. Now, to back this up, to give you a picture, I looked it up. This is a door of return. It says the door of return is an emblem of African Renaissance and is a Pan-African initiative that seeks to launch a new era of cooperation between Africa and its diaspora, or a diaspora in the 21st century. The initiative is chaired by the Han, Timothy E. McPherson Jr., Minister of Finance for the Akampong Maroons in Jamaica, and is being spearheaded Salakia, across Africa in cooperation with Nigeria, Ghana, and Zimbabwe as part of the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent. The name is reference to the Door of No Return, a monument commemorating the transatlantic slave trade. All right. And there you have it right there. OK, that's how it looks. The Door of No Return. OK, so going back, it says, according to Psalms 83, the captors of Jacob knew who they were enslaving. And the name of this man-made gate reveals the intention to ensure that there will be no return. Africa was at one time known to the ancient world as Ethiopia, and the South Atlantic Ocean is really the Ethiopic Ocean. Subsequently, it has become evident after so long that one major objective for slavery was to remove the Hebrews from their lands and so cut them off from being a nation. But the Most High has a controversy with that intention when he says, and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh thy power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen where they have gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Why? Because we were scattered. Ezekiel 37:21. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this clip really quickly. All right. And yeah, just check this out. So there's the map. It's 1771, the kingdom was renamed to Slave Coast. Pause that. So the kingdom of Judah is present day Togo, parts of which were divided between Ghana and Benin. It says the problem for the researcher is that in European sources, Judah is referred to variously as Wida, Wida, Fida, Uwida, and Ayuda. It says, and the captives from West Africa are described as Negroes, blacks, slaves, and Africans. that's another thing. That's the nonsense that they spewed upon us. Because remember, under the curses, the Lord said that we will be called a byword and a proverb. Okay? Never forget that. It says it is now common knowledge that the names of the men and women and children captured from West Africa were recorded by slavers. And there's the website that anybody can go on right there at the top that says slavevoyages.org. You can look it up yourself. There you go, right there. All right. So I'm trying to show you the map. Pause it so you can read. This is from 1745 to 1797. The name Olayuda, if I pronounce that right again, reveals that he was from the tribe of Judah. Could this have been the purpose of renaming him Gustavus Vasa? It says they were now this is a Ghanaian commentator telling this man that put this video together. Now he's saying our people, you so-called Negroes, all right, Latinos and Native Americans as well, because you're the Israelites, but mainly we're dealing with the southern kingdom, which consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Now he said in quote, therefore they dealing with their appearances, all right. It says, therefore they were prime targets for profiteering slavers. The name of their tribe is very difficult for the rest of us Africans to pronounce. Listen to what this Hamite is saying. He says, we lazily butchered their name in Ghana, approximating it with the moniker Iwu or Iwa or Iwe. All right. A closer approximation to the true sound value of their name is Iyavaru, or in a heavier tongue, Iyabru, right? Which sounds like what? Hebrew. It says the word Hebrew is derived from the term Ivaru, all right, Iwa or Iwe. All right, it says A and B Ellis, the Iwa or Iwe speaking peoples part 1, the Iwa or Aya Iwe are the predominant language groups located in southern Judah, Togo, southeast Ghana, and western Benin. And Salakia if I'm mispronouncing it, trying my best. It says the territory they once dominated was known as the land of the Iwes, meaning land of the Hebrews. It extended from Sahara almost to the equator and included Cod or Chad, Niger, and Guinea. And it's good that you see a visualization of this map. All right. It says in the old cartographers called it Sudan, which Thomas Vanda broke down for us. So means land, and Uda is Judah, land of Judah. See? Negro land. And you have the Elmina Castle of Ghana, which he's quoting here, Joel 3:3, and they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for a wine that they might drink. And they showed you this all throughout different movies, like, 12 Years of Slave, The Roots, Goodbye Uncle Tom. All right, just to name a few. But see, the scripture says, unto the wicked is a stumbling block, but unto the holy, all right, this is plain. Matter of fact, let me grab that because I don't want to butcher it. It's in the Apocrypha. All right, let's get Ecclesiasticus chapter 38, or actually chapter 39 and verse 24. It says, as his ways are plain unto the holy, so are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked. You see? So the holy starts with the elect, because only the elect is going to get the truth. And how and that's happening right now. We're being raised up firstly through this truth. Okay. We're being raised up through the servants, the prophets, all right, who is on the highways and hedges doing sit down videos, all right, giving this wise counsel, giving this truth, man, to wake up the elect of our people. All right. But that's pretty much enough on that. So now you can pause the video. These are the sources. You can take a screenshot for those of you who are wanting to learn more and you need evident proof of where this, this person got his resources, and nevertheless, where we getting our resources. All right. So now coming back over here. All right. There was something here. You have the Cape Coast Castle, which this is how it looks. Now it says the Cape Coast Castle is one of about 40 slave castles or large commercial forts built on the Gold Coast of West Africa, now Ghana, by European traders. It was originally a Portuguese, fedatoria or trading post established in 1555, which was named Cabo Corso. All right. Now, here's what's interesting about the Portuguese, right? Because he said that basically the Africans that came from Africa, they're not Hebrews, right? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the book of Babylon to Timbuktu. Okay. And I'm going to read on page 116. Just bear with me. And this is going into the history of the Jews expelled from Spain and Portugal. All right. Now, it says here In order to satisfy Queen Isabella of Spain, King Manuel of Portugal promulgated a royal decree expelling the Jews and Moors, which the Moors were Israelites, all right, from his country in 1496. It says the Jews who were expelled from Spain and Portugal were scattered throughout the Mediterranean coast, and it is estimated that over 100,000 Jews departed from Spain and Portugal during the persecutions and the expulsion. Some of these Jews went to Northern Europe, Italy, and Turkey, but most of them went to Muslim countries of Northern and Western Africa. These black Jews would naturally go to African countries, most of all because of less persecution, and they could disguise themselves easily among the blacks. You see? So now I'm going to drop down. It says during the reign of King Joel II or John II, 700 black, so-called black Hebrew children were ruthlessly taken away from their parents in Portugal and transported to the island of San Thame, if I pronounced that right, off the west coast of Africa. It says this island is located near Nigeria, Cameroon, and Gabon. Alan H. Goodby says that the Portuguese founded the island of San Thome in 1471. In the year 1484, King John II of Portugal, who reigned from 1481 through 1495, offered the Jews of his kingdom the choice of baptism or settling in San Thome. Multitudes of Jews were sent to this island during the reign of King John II. These Jews, or Judeos, as the Portuguese called them, are serious, reserved, and wealthy, holding most of the trade in their hands. It says, and the Portuguese were the first Europeans to establish themselves on the West African coast, and they came first as merchants and secondly as conquerors and slavers. Later in this work, the black Jews in the Portuguese possessions in West Africa will be discussed in greater detail. So there you have it. Okay. Now, it says here, dealing with Cape Coast Castle in 1653, a timber fort was constructed by the Swedish African Company. It originally was a center for timber and gold trade and then was later used in the Atlantic slave trade. Other Ghanaian slave castles include Elmina Castle and Fort Christiansburg. They were used to harbor enslaved Africans before they were loaded onto ships and sold in the Americas, especially the Caribbean. But these were not your Hamites, which are so-called Africans. These were Israelites. Okay. This gate of no return was the last stop before crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Cape Coast Castle, along with other forts and castles in Ghana, are included on the UNESCO World Heritage List because of their testimony to the Atlantic gold and slave trades. All right. So there you have it, man. OK, it doesn't get no better than that. And the proof is in the pudding. We showed you the evidence. Now let's back it up with scriptures. All right. So what you got to understand is going back to the curses. All right, let's get Deuteronomy. And you know what? Let me remove this. Let's get Deuteronomy 28. And we'll start at verse 48. It says, therefore, let's see, maybe I want to start up a little bit. No, we'll start at verse 48. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now, if we were to Google yokes of iron, okay, and we go to images, there's only one ethnicity of people that fits that description. Okay. There's only one ethnicity of people that fits that description, because you don't see, all right, the people that are claiming to be us in the Holy Land today fit this prophecy. Okay. They don't fit the prophecies, man. There's one right there. Okay. And you mean to tell me that those people that are claiming to be us are the ones that fit this prophecy, having a yoke of iron? Now let's see this here. It says seen on the coast. All right, look at that, man. Like, come on, man. We're gonna be serious there, and who is at the forefront of doing all of this? All right, here's Esau, Brandon, us, man. Like, come on, man. All right. So once again, the proof is in the pudding. All right. Now it says here, verse 49, Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And so what happened when they came, all right, over with those ships? All right, we didn't understand their tongue. All right, you had the Portuguese that spoke Spanish. You had the British that spoke English. Okay, we didn't understand their language when they came. Verse 50, it says, a nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of old, no show favor to the young. So they didn't care whether you was young, a baby, or whatever the case may be. They showed you that in the movie Goodbye, Uncle Tom. Now, when you drop down, verse 64, it says, and the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And that happened when we went into slavery. We was persecuted and we became scattered. It says, and there thou shalt serve other gods, all right, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Okay, so that's what it was. And then the last one, verse 68, says, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, you don't need to go from Israel to Egypt. You don't have to travel by ships. It's all examples in the scriptures of our forefathers traveling via foot to go into Egypt, man. So this was symbolic. This was speaking of going over to Babylon the Great, which is America, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, pertaining to Revelation, the 11th chapter. Now, the key part here is it says, again, with ships, because Egypt, all right, actually, in this context is referring to house of bondage, which means slavery. So it says, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Okay, which was a prophecy that took place during the transatlantic slave trade. It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, the prophecy stated, when you deal with what Yahweh Shai stated, let's get Luke 21, and I'm going to start at 20, because he spoke about what was going to happen leading up to 66 to 70 AD during the time of the Roman persecution. So this is Luke 21 and 20. And this is going to show you how Yahweh Shai prophesied that our people was going to pretty much flee from being persecuted. And they were going to what Yahweh Shai described as they were fleeing to the mountains. All right. The mountains represents they were going to Africa to hide. So it says here, Luke 21 and 20, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, okay, the Roman armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Okay, so we fled into the mountains. Okay, because what also backs this up, let's get the book of Micah. All right. What's that? Micah 4 and 10. It says, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail, for now shalt thou go forth out of the city, which we did, which is the city of Jerusalem, and thou shalt dwell in the field, which the field represents Africa, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. That's the prophecy being fulfilled. That's when they came over to West Africa, okay, and they boarded us up on the slave ships and brought us over to Babylon the Great America. It says, there, meaning in America, Babylon the Great, shalt thou be delivered. There, Yahweh shall redeem them from the hand of thy enemies. All right. And another precept to prove, all right, that we will go into Africa. Let's get the book of Revelation 12. And let's see here. Is it? Yeah, Revelation 12 and 6, I'll start at verse 5. It says, "And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto the Most High and to his throne." Here's the point. It says, "And the woman, which represents the nation of Israel, fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared," okay, which represents America. The wilderness represents Africa, "that they should feed her there 1,203 days," which ultimately goes into a total of 350 years. All right. When you break it down. So that the nation of Israel fled into the wilderness, which ultimately aligns up with, let's see if they get the give the precept. It should go back to Luke, the 21st chapter, which they don't have it there, but fleeing into the wilderness, where Yahweh Shah talked about, you should flee Judea and go up into the mountains. Okay. And we went into the field, as mentioned in Micah, the 4th chapter and the 10th verse. All right. And there are many instances where we fled into Africa. For instance, you can get Matthew, the 2nd chapter, the flight to Egypt. Okay. It's not Egypt in the land of Ham. All right. It says Matthew 2:13, "And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child, which is Yahushua, and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son." Now, when you deal with, let me see here if I can find it back in the book of, now check this out. Remember, we just read here that it said that Yahushua and his father Joseph and his mother Mary fled into Egypt. Why do you think they fled into Egypt? Because it would have been hard for Herod, who was an Edomite, a so-called white man, to find them mingle amongst other dark-skinned people, which would have proved what? That Yahushua was a so-called dark-skinned man, for him to hide out in Egypt. And a proof of that, let's go back to the book From Babylon to Timbuktu. All right, when the Israelites that were expelled from Spain and Portugal, it says these so-called black Jews would naturally go to African countries, most of all because of less persecution, and they could disguise themselves easily among blacks. So you always had a history of our forefathers going into these different Hamitic tribes, mingling with the Hamitic tribes and hiding from persecution. You see? So it would make sense that this lets us know a few things in evident proof that the Israelites were different shades of brown. They will be considered so-called black today, okay, but mainly different shades of brown. All right. It also proves that you had Hebrew Israelites hiding out in different parts of Africa, mainly the west coast of Africa, which we proved. And the scriptures also backed up, giving you an account that our Lord and Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, also fled into upper part of Africa, which they fled into Egypt to hide from the persecution that Herod set for him, which would have proved what? Joseph, Mary, and Yahushua would have been of dark skin to hide from the persecution, the order, the decree that Herod put out, man. If the Messiah was a so-called white man, or what they depicted, don't you think that it would have been easy for Herod to spot Yahushua in Egypt? Think about it. Okay. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much it. All right. And the scriptures back up everything that, everything that we were able to find through secular history, and we was able to cross-reference. So, this guy here, obviously he ain't got it. All right. And this is why the scripture says to study to show thyself approved, man. So I'm gonna leave it off there. And I pray that this lesson was edifying. And I pray that, you brothers and you sincere sisters who watched got some information out of it. And hey, Don't take our word for it. Go and look it up yourselves and do your own research, man. All right. So with that, all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. Shalom.